Welcome back to Breaking the Silence Project, or should I say, the Breaking the Silence Project. Mary named it that when we opened up our website. And we have an actual website, not just the YouTube channel. And when she did that, it's on WordPress. And if I had a link, I'd put it up, but you can find it easily enough by doing a search. Or Mary can put a link up. But she named it that, and I just really thought it rang true because we kind of are a project. We're a project because when we started out, we just wanted to give people a voice. I've been down this road before, but we have a lot of new people watching the channel, and people who might decide because they trust us to speak about their experiences without fear of judgment or ridicule or putting in skeptics, which is altogether unnecessary. We don't do that here, but we've been doing this long enough now for almost 3 years. People are coming forward all the time. Next Friday, we have Beth Ward. You've probably never heard of Beth Ward before. I certainly had not. And she saw our channel and she went to our website, the one I spoke of, and she wrote to us and said she wanted to talk. And when I interviewed her a couple of weeks ago on the In Conversation series, I was kind of blown away because here was this very intelligent, attractive woman who spoke so confidently about her experiences. Not that you all haven't, but it was just something to see the way she was so at ease with it and had a great deal of personal experience with not only the grays, but other beings and the hybrids, and has a lot of information about why this is all happening. And what really got me is that she doesn't really frequent um, the information that's out there and watch lots of channels, doesn't watch the news. She was unfamiliar with Susie Henson, and yet she spoke so about so many things that were similar, more than similar, uh, to what Susie was talking about. And that was really cool. And so, yes, it's a project. And what the project is that we didn't know this would happen. We started bringing all of you and all these people together in one place where they could feel safe within that community, where they wouldn't be exploited uh, or turned into clickbait or get put on the spot with, one of these interviewers. Someone who are very, very popular, but they'll just put you right on the spot. They'll try to nail you. They'll try to get you, and we just don't do that because we ourselves are experiencers and we know what it's like. I mean, I know what it's like. When I went public in the 90s, it was a crapshoot. It really was. The things that happened to me as a result. So we're very appreciative of the wonderful people that have populated the Breaking the Silence project and are sharing their stories and sharing their information with us. And to the people who also share privately because it's too dangerous for them to go public, they frequent our online Zoom private chats, basically it's a support group. It is. People all come together and they talk about what's been happening to them, which is amazing. And we're very fortunate. And you are very fortunate because you get to learn a lot from this. And I know that because I see the comments, and um, I very much appreciate the kind comments from so many of you about this channel and about Mary and myself. Thank you very, very much. Speaking of Susie Henson, I've been working with Susie for a while now. And right now, there's a chapter in her book. I don't think I have a picture to put up of it. This is live, so I'm out of my element, really. But Susie Henson, The Dual Soul Connection, you can get it on Amazon. It's an incredible book. It was a life game changer for me. But we're doing chapter 34, which is it's very timely, and it has a lot to do with the same things Beth was talking about. It has a lot to do with disclosure and why it's never going to happen if the visitors themselves don't allow it to happen. They have the keys, and although other things may come out and from the government, we certainly can't trust them. We know that. We haven't been able to trust them for 80 years. They've lied, 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 lied. They lied about 3i Atlas too. I recently found out. You might want to look at that article that from the Sentinel, that Meredith, she's incredible researcher, and she looked into 3i Atlas, just expecting it to be a silly comment, and she found a lot more. That link is in the community section or post section. You can go look at it. If you don't have time to read the whole thing, watch the short video she made about it. It's mind-boggling. But going back to Susie, she made 3 attempts to record chapter 34, and the footage was coming out soft, and there was this problem and that problem. And finally, she got on the 3rd attempt a new camera, and her son helped her set up, and she did a great job. And she got really good lighting, decent audio, a nice background, and she talks directly to camera. This will not be an in conversation, and she talks about chapter 34, which deals with the very subjects we've been talking about in a very enlightening way. And what I'm going to do is visualize the whole 39 minutes. It's a really tall task to do. I wish I could do it all with live action, but I'll be using my animation skills. Her husband, Thomas, is doing some sketches for me right now that shows the basic layout of where she was, this underground facility, inside the craft, what the crafts looked like. Lots of nuts and bolts stuff, but that's not the heart of the story. The heart of the story is the why and what's happening and what we need to do. So I'm very excited about that project. We also have Matthew, who sent us a 3-part video about his experiences that I'm working on. And I know I'm leaving someone out. I have 3 films coming, and they're all from experiencers, and they're not conversations. I don't interview them. They're just, they just talk to camera the same way Judy did, and Judy, Susan, and Deb. And I'm going to bring their experience to life as best I can. In the future, I'm hoping that I can do more and more of live action. That is to say that some of the stuff I'm going to shoot live action with an actor and add visual effects to it. Oh yeah, well, I was going to get to that. And I might have forgot. I don't know. Okay, so she finally gets us the video. The video is great. I looked a little bit of it. I said, "Oh, Mary, it looks great. She did a great job." I tell her it's a great job. And then some days went by. We hadn't looked at it in totality because you have to understand we are doing so many shows simultaneously, and articles, and I'm helping Yvonne right now. I'm doing some visuals for her for Contact in the Desert. We just have a myriad of things going on. It's just Mary and I. So we finally came home from the studio, and we usually have a nice cup of tea and a bicky, cupcake. And I said, let's, instead of watching YouTube or something and seeing the latest UFO videos, which we keep an eye on, let's watch her. We got to start watching some of these before we start the edit. So we sat down right here in the edit bay, and Mary sat here next to me, and we watched it. It's 39 minutes long. And I started feeling really tired. And it wasn't just because she was talking quietly. It was something more than that. And the same thing was happening to Mary. Mary almost fell off the chair. She got so tired. We finished it, and something happened to us that we never do. I never take naps. I may feel tired, kind of, but I want to work on my stuff. And I had a lot to work on. I've been working on a 3D image of a praying mantis that I saw. I had edits to do. And so I'm fighting this, and Mary already went on the couch and she's snoring. And I'm just like, I don't believe this. It's like I'm being demanded to lay down. I can't resist going to sleep. So I went in the bedroom. I said, I'm just going to lay down for a few minutes. An hour went by, and we woke up very drugged and very sort of altered. Um, when I first woke up, I saw symbols. I can't really describe them. They were kind of curved like this with a dot in the middle, and another one that had these branches on it, and they were going by. And then I saw um, a graphic of a gray. I didn't see a gray. I saw like a symbol gray. And I opened my eyes up and I said, "Oh God, this is just so weird." Um, so I got up. We both talked about how weirded out we were. Like I'm sure that something happened because after all these years, you just know. And I know you who are listening now who have these experiences know exactly what I mean. There's nothing like it. Um, so I wrote to Susie, and because she just wrote me another email, and I saw it pop up. So I wrote to her and I told her what happened. And she wrote back. She said, "I'm really sorry that that happened to you, that you were affected that way by my video." And then she went on to describe how when they were doing it, the same thing happened to her, and I think her son as well. What this brings me to, my theory is that when we're working together, and it doesn't mean just her either, because it happened when I was interviewing Beth. Somehow they're present, and somehow they know what's going on, and for some reason, um, they do what the mantises are really good at doing, and that is putting you in a state of hypnosis and just pushing you down so you sleep. I woke up with marks on my arm. Um, and this feeling that very much I got some sort of download, but I have nothing from the download that I can share with you because the thing about it is that a lot of times this stuff is time release. As you know, it's like you'll be in meditation or you have a dream at night and it'll all come out. You'll remember all the stuff that happened, and it wasn't just a dream. It just wasn't uh, a hypnagogic state when you're under hypnosis. So nothing's come of it as of yet, but the feeling that there was a download, the feeling that it might have even been physical, maybe. I don't know. But after I was fully awake, and if I could call it that, I had to do something. I had to do anything. And I kept having this urge to finish this sculpture of the praying mantis I saw. Um, where is it? Media assets. And I was like, I'm too tired. I can't do that. But then I opened it up, take a look at it, see where I was at with the sculpture. We were talking digital sculpting. And I just sort of automatically started working on it and basically finished it. Now, it's not painted and textured because this is being 3D printed with a resin printer. And the resin printers print really smooth, unlike the other printers you may be familiar with. Resin printers basically print a smooth object with all the wrinkles and details in it that you would put just as you would in clay. And so I have a simulated base here and stuff, but this really, I tried to get it in the painting. I tried to get it in some other drawings I did, but this one really comes closest. And after I finished, I just left it up, and it just kept staring at me throughout the rest of the evening until I finally turned the computer off. And so there was something going on there with all that. Um, I'm trying not to read anything into it, but it's difficult not to because if you have enough experience with this stuff, you know that something, the game was afoot. So this is just going to be a bust, but I do plan to also animate that whole scene where I came to in an amphitheater type setup. And Susie talks about the amphitheater as well, and not just her, but a lot of other people, where you're with all these other human beings, and we're all sitting there, we're all being lectured, and not mean or like we're going to lecture you. No, we're being taught, we're being told things, we're being shown things on the screen. Um, and this guy was standing over there outside the aisle up against this wall that kind of had this almost looked like curtains, but it wasn't. It was just the shape of the wall standing there. So I'm going to hopefully do that. So, oh, and also so thin. Well, here's the thing. I've had this was done in '93, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. It's a watermark I put on it because people have been stealing my artwork, and they have been since the '90s. But that's another whole story. Um, when I was working with Yvonne and I saw them on hypnosis, this is what I saw. I saw them painfully thin, like stick figures with these enormous heads, and I had this feeling that they had like a vertebrae on the back, and sometimes I would see like a rib cage even. So no, I've never seen them glow except when I'm seeing them in my mind, like when I wake up in the morning and my eyes are closed, I'm fully awake, and I'll see them, and they do glow, sort of a purpley color, which is where our emblem came from. Other times, I'll open my eyes up and I'll close them real fast, and I'll see an after image of a gray standing in the bedroom doorway, as if my eyes had been opened and it was standing there, and it was backlit by the bright light in the hallway as a result of the sunlight coming through from the sliding doors in our dining room filtering down there. So you would see this negative image, as you do when you look at something like this bright light I'm looking at right now. And I close my eyes real quick, I can see a negative of the light, and it slowly fades. Well, I was seeing a gray. When I opened my eyes up, it wasn't there. When I closed them, it would be there again, and then it would slowly fade, which might suggest that it was actually standing there, but somehow it was being masked out, but my retinas didn't know to do that. So I was seeing that negative image. But I've never seen them glow. No, I haven't. Get that off there. Oh, I got small. Mary's at the controls. So this is where I'm sitting right now. That's my workstation for everything I do, including making my own scores, so I don't have to use YouTube music. That's a good question, Russell, and I would say yes and yes, but we're that way ourselves, and I think when we go to sleep at night, we find out about that, because there's no question that often what you think is a dream isn't at all. So, or maybe this reality is a dream, but no question that we leave our bodies and we become non-physical. So that's why I said yes to both of those questions. So I need to go back over here to comments. So that's what's been going on. I'll be working on Susie's pretty soon. We have some interesting guests in the pipeline. Um, the Breaking the Silence project works for you. I'm so glad it does. So we got, like I said, we got some really great guests coming up, and people who have these experiences that speak very well of their experience. We got more films coming up. We have a mini series, which is going to be, I think, based on actual stories, but done in the style of the Night Stalker, which is a whole different project that isn't fully my idea. It was the actor or actress that was in the first film that led to that, that created the idea of making this miniseries. Um, and the film, I forget, Mary, when are we premiering that film? It's sometime in May 7th, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. It's called The UFO, and it's about a character named um, Deborah Bell, no relation to Art Bell, who has a podcast, and she also works for a newspaper, and she has this podcast though of being a skeptic. When? Okay, and she's one of those people that's very, very hard on people like us, and then something happens to her, and that's all I'm going to say. But she liked the film. This is a very professional, very experienced actor who is a script supervisor. She's done so many things in Hollywood, and she loved the script so much she wanted to do it. And then after she saw the film, um, she wanted to turn it into a series. And could I write some scripts? And so we worked a little bit on the idea of her being fired from her newspaper and going to work for a rag newspaper. And but the editor's a really nice guy, and he sends her out on stories and interviews people, not just about UFOs, but all things related, the paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, all of it. And um, we've we just we're hopeful that this will go over well. They're going to be short. They're only going to be like 10 or 12 minutes long a piece, but they string together so you can watch them all back to back, and it's one big story. So, but that's something else that we've got going on, and you'll see the which is now considered the pilot episode in May. But again, what we're doing with fictional work is we are creating entertainment, yes, but at the same time, we, especially in this first story that you're going to see, a whole bunch of you out there, after you see this film, are going to feel better about yourself, because that's what these stories are all about. Because people are so skeptical and so ready to put you down hard for this stuff if they don't believe in it. Uh, and it's really something to see what happens to somebody like that, and then that happens to them. So that's the theme of it all. So I pretty much fictional stories based on facts. Okay, yeah, pretty much, kind of like X Files. No, I haven't. Do you agree that the beings are here for positive? I do. Well, at least in my case, in the people on this channel that I have known now for over 2 years, um, people like Deborah Cobble of the famous Intruders case with Bud Hopkins, um, certainly went through a lot of trauma with it initially, but in the end, as I have and so many of us have, wouldn't trade this experience for anything. Wouldn't go back to being the person we were before it, because it's made us the people we are, people who care about the earth, people who care about the environment, people who care about the people who are starving, and people who care, uh, who are kind and want to do the right thing. People who are aware of the cosmos and that there's life teeming all through it. I could go on, but this is what I've found talking to people for all this time now, and this goes back to the 90s. Um, Overall, yes, positive. I mean, if these beings um, are taking people and basically like a form of education almost, and creating people who are kinder, gentler, and more caring of the planet and the universe, I look at that as a positive. Because what happens with our institutions on Earth Well, for one, we have things like the draft that abduct people straight out of school, put them in a war, get them killed, or if they survive the war, they come back and they're completely insane. I know this because I went through Vietnam. All my friends coming back, and not all of them alive. And then you've got the schools who hide the truths from us. I mean, our own people do a pretty poor job of making us aware of our universe and our environment and our connection with Mother Nature, being that we are animals ourselves. So, and my nose is running. This always happens when I talk about this subject. And I don't have, I think Mary's coming to the rescue. There she is. Thank you, Mary. Excuse me. I have allergy problems, and I don't know if they're related or not. Whitley would tell me they are. Um, so, yeah, I see it as a positive for me personally. I'm not saying it's that way for you or anyone else. And I do know people have terrible experiences, but I have to question whether or not how much of that's based on very legitimate fear. Um, when you're used to how our own government treats us and what they're capable of, killing people in their cars at a protest, shooting people on the street at a protest, abducting you and beating the crap out of you and imprisoning you and sending you off to some other country, I can see why you'd be concerned that something that can walk into your bedroom at night and take you up in the sky into a craft initially, you you know what our people are capable of. And you sort of project that onto something else, another consciousness. And I get that. But as I've said, and over time, it seems that that becomes less and less and less, and people realize what's going on. But the real monsters are the people that are damaging you and I in that beautiful environment out there. As I watch my hawks, they had babies. They have babies every year up in these big tall trees. Every morning at 5:30 in the morning, I hear her out there. I hear the babies talking, and then now I'm seeing they're flying. So I don't know that I would be in that much of a connection and noticing things like that and thinking how wonderful they are uh, if I hadn't had those experiences or I hadn't been part of something like this. Oh, you had to ask that question, didn't you? I mean, that's like a whole half hour. I'm going to be real brief about that. In the 90s, after I went public and I had appeared on television with a lot of heavyweights, Jacques Vallée, Whitley Strieber, Roger Lear, Von Smith, and others, and a lot of shows, all national, from Vicki Lawrence to Sightings to Paranormal Borderline to the Bob Kiviat show, where they did the alien interview, and we were interviewed about that. And I got threats in form of emails from the CIA and the NSA. Now, someone I knew at the time who had a show similar to Art Bell, Jeff Rents, he looked at the emails and he thought they were just somebody was having me on because you couldn't write back to him. And so I kind of blew it off. And I'll make the story short. I blew it off. I said, yeah, this is garbage. Nothing going on here. Well, then I was making gray alien busts and things like that. And like, do I have one of them here that I can show you? No, I don't. But I was making them. If you saw them, you'd recognize them because they were prolific back then. Even Chris Carter had them, bought them from me. And so I was making some money, which was helpful because my career was taking a nosedive after I went public. So I got a call that this person said, I sent you money and it came back and it says no such address. And then another person called and another person told me that. I go, what's going on here? So my late wife went to the post office. The post office said, we can't help you. They went in the back for a long time. The guy got on the phone. He came back, said, I can't help you, lady. What do you mean you can't help me? I can't help you. And then he moved on to the next person. So she came home rather frustrated. Our mail was being blocked. No such address. Still, I thought, well, maybe it's just a quirky thing. The final straw was I got a call from the motion picture studio. I've worked for a great deal, and I knew the producer there. This woman, she called me and she said, "Are you in trouble with the law? Have you broken the law? Because there's people here who said you have, that you're a criminal, and it wasn't in our best interest to work with you anymore." And they were dressed in black, and they were very official, she said, and they had ID badges and all this stuff. And but that was the only studio that called me. I can only wonder how many others those people had visited. I was stalked by helicopters, cars. I had people standing in my bushes at night taking flash photographs of me. I had them follow me into restaurants when I'd be with Whitley and Yvonne. I had them in the bushes looking into my shop at night. I knew this because a friend of mine that knew nothing about this stuff, who came over late at night, saw this person run out of my bushes. Uh, it was quite extensive. And after my late wife told me to quit or she'd leave me, which was 1999, late 99, it stopped when I left. Uh, Lisa, is that your name? Um, oh, oh. Uh, so as a result of your experience, you became a vegan. That's interesting. Mary, how was it? 3 years ago or more, we're sitting at the breakfast table, and she looked at me and said, "Do you want to go vegan?" And I just looked at her. I said, "Yeah, okay," because I trust Mary with my life. Anything that's a good idea from her is a good idea, period, and very well researched. So I said, "Yeah, I'm okay with it." The mistake we made was going cold turkey, but we did it. And to this day, we're still vegan, and we were going to stay that way. We're not only vegan, we're very Buddhist. We enjoy meditating. We enjoy Buddhist philosophy. We read a lot of Buddhist philosophy, and we do yoga every morning. And this is all connected. If you've seen my latest little short I did, which is more of an intro short, but with the giant Buddha and the beans and everything, um, this is the first thing I've done that has that influence in it. And I've always been attracted to it since I was in high school. I remember in the '60s, my friends a lot of them were becoming Buddhists, um, and I love these. I do, and we'll be getting some bigger ones soon, right, Mary? Anyway, well, that's a long-winded way of answering your question. So that's where things are. That's the state of the state of the union with breaking the silence project. We just keep going on and on. I know that you probably noticed that our numbers, subscribers, is going down. That's being done by YouTube, and they're doing it to everybody. If you haven't watched the channel in 6 months, they just remove you. We have no control over it. So if you are checking in and finding out that you're no longer subscribed, that's because they removed you. Well, Andrew, I think that's been going on for a while now, but it's increasing at an exponential rate. It really is. At least that's what I've been noticing, and a lot of us have been noticing. And so we need a paradigm shift. We really do. We need to become good people and take care of this planet and stop having wars and learn how to love one another and learn how to be tolerant of each other because, as Michael J. Carter told me, Steve, you can't expect everyone to think the way you think. And that's so true. That's so true. And, but by sharing ideas and talking, I have a neighbor back here um, who's a Trump supporter. I mean, he voted for him more than once, and he's a sweet person. We get along just fine. My neighbor at my studio is the same way. Um, they can't see it yet, but I know eventually they will because they're good people. Now I know there's people that are just plain crazy, and they're dangerous. But these people aren't crazy. They just don't know. I mean, they're doing other things. They're not really paying attention. They're not seeing the things you and I are seeing, and they're not even sure if they can trust that what they're being shown and told is true or not, even though it is. But again, I'm learning from my Buddhist teachings to be very not just tolerant. Tolerant means you tolerate it. Is to be understanding and try to put yourself in their shoes and be compassionate. So, well, Ben, it beats being the other way around, you know. It really helps to be, I find, an artist and a creator because whenever things are really getting crazy and they're kind of disturbing, you can escape from it anytime you want. There's nothing wrong with escaping. I had a friend named Timothy Leary, and I'll never forget him telling me, Steve, there's nothing wrong with escaping. It's moving forward. Yes, Timothy Leary. He was, you would have loved him. What a guy. Anyway, uh, so like I said, today we spent a lot of time at the studio. I'm working on my new airplane project, which is huge. It's a 4.5 meter wingspan glider, and that was built in 1938 by the British. And it's one hell of a project. It's taken me forever to get it built. So enormous, but it's zen. It's a great escape. And then we do art like that praying mantis sculpture. It's just so nice to sit there and sculpt something without getting your hands dirty in clay. And at my age, lifting a huge block of clay like that and making molds and creating something really wonderful. What do you think about the idea there is a hybrid that Yeah, I know about lavender. In fact, I did a painting uh, of that gentleman who watched them doing that a long time ago, and then I redid it because I don't know what happened to the original painting. I know there's a hybrid program. I do not know how the cattle mutilations correlate with with that. A lot of people see it as pretty terrifying and a terrible thing to do, but when you consider that we raise cows to be slaughtered um, and be eaten by us, that's really the pot calling the kettle black in my book. But that's just me. Um, well, thank you. I love your avatar. We are trying to believe me. There are times that um, because the way the algorithm treats us and it's not allowing us to reach the larger audience of people like yourself that are there. We know they're there, but we just can't reach them. It can be um, frustrating. But Mary and I are both basically retired. I mean, we still have a studio. We go there every day. We work. I make films. She does artwork. So, but we're retired, but we're not sitting in a couch watching TV all day. Um, I've never been busier in my whole life. Um, and this channel is a big part of that. In fact, it is all encompassing. I literally, as Whitley was talking about it, because he's the same way than I, and he said that it can be maddening at times because he's so much in demand and he has so much email to answer and all that stuff. And I said, I know what you mean, but we sit there and we take care of it when we do it. Um, and you get tired sometimes, you want to take a break, but that lasts about 30 minutes. And then it's like you'll see something and that's some kind comment someone wrote or how much something you did helped them, and you're like, okay, I'm back. you know, so the reason we keep going is because of comments and kind people like yourselves who say such wonderful things. And I thank you for that. There it is. Breaking the Silence Project. Oh, thank you, Mike. Nice to see you here. um, as you can see, well, you can't see it right now. There it is. One of the things I'm doing with 3D printers is I'm making these up. Should I tell them where we're going to be next month, Mary? All right. The secret's over with. We're going to be at Contact in the Desert. And we're just going to be there. We got a room there. Mary got us a room there in the Renaissance, in the hotel. We're bringing Nova with us. And we're just going to hang out and visit people. That's all we're going to do. We're going to bring camera with us, and we may grab something here and there, but we're basically going to relax and hang out with you guys for the same reasons that you're going. I doubt we'll be attending any of the lectures or any of those things, but we just want to go, and it's going to be our little vacation. We'll be there for 3 days. So I made up these so that Mary can have one on and I can have one on, and Mary wants a bigger one, so I'm making her a bigger one. And I'm doing stuff for, there's Susan. Where'd she go? Where'd she go? I saw her. There she is, rabbit and all. And it should be. I've never been. I've never been. I used to get invited to UFO conferences all the time in the 90s, and a lot of the time Whitley would be there, and Yvonne would be there, and Roger Lear would be there, Linda Moulton Howe. We all knew each other, and we were all at these things all the time in California. And then after I got out, because my wife wanted me to leave the field, I was forgotten about. Now today, no one knows who I am, and so we rarely, if at all, get asked to be on a podcast or a television program, or let alone be invited to Contact in the Desert or the convention up north. And that's fine. I don't really have any issues with that. I just think it's kind of fun that we can go and just be there like everyone else, and just to be in the community and have fun and talk to people. And I think that's I'm really looking forward to that, because all the ones I used to go to in the past, I'd be standing up at a podium in front of 200 people showing my artwork on the screen and spilling my guts and getting myself in deeper and deeper trouble with the authorities back then. I still don't know why. I mean, I've talked to Yvonne about this, and I've talked to Whitley about it. I've talked, what, why me? I was just this guy working in Hollywood doing special effects and filmmaking and things like that, and they picked on me, and I can't tell you to this day why. Yes, Yvonne will be showing my art, and I'm doing some new stuff for her because I enjoy doing the art. And then she always shares it, makes a big fuss about it, and that's fun. So at least people can see some of my art when they're down there that way. So that's the thing. I have, since the late 80s, been doing art about this experience, about the grays, about the saucers, and predominantly the grays. I have done more films, short films, long films, of course, all the stuff I've done for this channel. But prior to that, I did a lot as well. And but artwork wise, I did so much art, and it was early 90s that my art started being shown on television, and it wasn't too long between sightings and Yvonne and other people. In fact, that time I met Whitley because he saw the art and he called me one night. We had a nice conversation. We've been friends ever since. And the artwork started to be copied, and it got copied by, later on, Alienware actually wrote to me and said, "Did you know that you're using our image?" And I had to write to them and say, "No, you don't understand. You're using my image. I'm the guy that's where you got it from. And in fact, at the little alien, I remember when they had originally they had a gray there that wasn't like the stuff I'm drawing and creating now. And then as soon as my stuff came out and people were saying, "Yeah, that's what I saw," they changed it to that, and that's very flattering. You know, a lot of people said you should have copyrighted it or trademarked it or whatever. I never thought about that. It's the same way thing with this channel. I wasn't doing it to make money. I was doing it because I enjoyed doing the art. I enjoyed showing people what I saw and having people say, "That's what I saw. Can we talk?" That was wonderful. Um, so all these years later, I've done hundreds and hundreds of drawings and paintings and things. Oh, Benno, thank you. Uh, and films now, and I've done several movies about this subject, uh, and short films, and yet I am the least known for doing art on this subject, which is kind of fun. I mean, you guys all know, but the public doesn't. I did. I said thank you, Ben. Really, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Anyway, so and I'm going to continue on doing the art. I've got some more art planned. I got some more shorts planned. But if this escalates and what Jocelyn is working on now may work its way up, I can't say for sure. It would be nice. I'm not going to have any expectations, but if it does, then we'd have an actual budget. And the only way we can have an actual budget is if the people giving us a budget care as deeply about this subject as you and I do. Otherwise, I won't do it because they'll change it. So we have 10 minutes left of this chat, and at this time, not that I haven't been taking questions, I'm taking questions, and if there's anything you wanted to ask me or Mary about, this is the time to do it. We don't do this too often. We didn't have a conversation this Friday. Instead, we had this. Next week, we'll have Beth. You're really going to like Beth. She's really something, and she's new to the community. Not new to the subject, but new to the community. She came forward. She wanted to break her silence. And of course, with all the people who do this, and we've had few of them come to us and want to do it, but we ask them, are you sure? Do you have a career or a job that might be affected by this? Do you have family members that might be affected by this? Are they okay with it? Is your boss okay with it? Is this going to be harmful in any way? And they don't think about that sometimes. They want to tell their story. I think it's because they're so tired of sitting on it. They just want to tell it. But we talk them out of it. More than once we've done that because it would have affected their career and their family. Well, actually, I haven't heard the Nordics are us from the future. I've heard the Greys are us from the future, but I don't really know. You know, I really don't know. And my experience, for some reason, I never asked them much of anything. I never think to ask them, "Are you from the future?" But yet I've been told that many of us agreed before we were ever born to come here and live a life as a human being without knowledge of who we were before that. At least not till much later on in our experience would we start to remember who we were and that we made this agreement. There's there's been a lot of talk about this lately. A lot of people aren't familiar with it, but a lot of people are. And Susie Henson's certainly one of them. There's that whole business of what happened to me with my meditation and that praying mantis, and it took me back to my first day in first grade, and it said, "Remember how you felt?" And there was a good reason for that. It wanted me to remember that I felt incredibly different and like it didn't belong, but this was something I agreed to do. And it was an amazing thing to have experienced while in meditation. Thank you, Susan. If you haven't watched Susan's telling of her story, it's on the channel. We it's named the Jackrabbit case. Um, it's a really good case. Amazing things happened to her, and the reason it's called Jackrabbit case is because she was out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, in the dark of night, extra dark because there was something so large over her it literally blotted out the moonlight and the stars, and there were these 4 foot tall jackrabbits standing in the road, a whole bunch of them. And um, when they got out of the car to take a look at them, they became grays. How many times you heard about the grays morphing? And in fact, just recently I heard that in the day of disclosure, there's been some footage that was shown at some conference or festival, and that was one of the scenes where uh, a gray in Spielberg's movie is, I mean, it's an animal. I think it's a deer, and it turns into a gray. They only got to see a little bit of it. Um, that made me a little hopeful that maybe his new movie um, is on our side. I'm hoping that it is. We'll find out on Whitley Strieber's birthday because that's when it's being released. We had a good laugh about that. You know, Whitley figures that he won't be mentioned in the film, but who knows? I know I won't be. Anyway, so I'm hoping that the film is a plus. There seems to be more and more evidence that it's sort of a tribute or sequel to Close Encounters, and I'm really hoping that's the case because we need that. We really do. And there's so much negative in the world, and there's so many bad things going on. We need to have some positive things too. So here's hoping. But by God, if I ever get a budget, yes, we're going to do that movie, and you know the one I'm talking about. No way, haha. What are you on about, Rachel? Anyway, we're getting really close. We got 5 minutes. I've really enjoyed talking to you, even though it's you're there and I'm here and I'm pontificating on in. And but you know, your comments are wonderful, and your support is wonderful. Your attitude is wonderful. Um, you give me so much hope that this whole experience is intention is to be positive and to raise us up into from a lower density into a much higher one, a much higher vibration where we all start to heal. What's Whitley's birthday? Yeah, it's either the 12th or 13th, but he said it opens on his birthday, so that would be uh, the 12th. So now you know to write to him and fill his email box up with happy birthdays, and he'll get mad at me, but that's okay. He's been mad at me before, and I've been mad at him. You know someone for 40 years, and these things happen. So how do you do it all? How do, how do we do all? How do we do it all? I don't know. I have no idea. It's we're driven, and you know I would say that major percentage of it is us, Mary and I, and the other part is something to do with them. That you know, as so many people I've interviewed and talked to have said that they feel that they have a mission to do, and it is to talk to people, tell their stories, and gradually ease them into a comfort zone with the subject matter that would one day allow for open contact, which would be actual disclosure. Because I guarantee you, if some disclosure gets released by our government in the next few months, you can't trust it. You never can trust them. They've been lying ever since Roswell, and they even lied about Three Eye Atlas. Uh, So anything that they come forward through, I don't care if it's film of Roswell, of the autopsy, which by the way that was fake, and I knew that right away. And that's another show. They show us film from back then. Keep in mind, all of it can be faked. So we only have their word to take for it, and I am not taking it. And I suggest you do the same. Who can we trust? Each other. You've had the experience. I've had the experience. You saw a UFO. I saw a UFO. We know they're real. We saw it with our own eyes. We don't need any proof. And you can't fake that. So, and that's been the beauty of this channel, is getting to know so many people, honest, good people, genuine folks. You know, the people up on the mountain with the sign, stop and be friendly. That's us. So that's as real as it gets. What? Oh, yes, yes, Nick Pope. I met him once at a conference. Yeah, it was. You know, I found him inspiring because did you read what he wrote about his dying, and he knew it, and his whole attitude about it was wonderful. You know, for him, he had done his work and he was going to transition, and that transition was going to be a beautiful thing. And it was just, you know, Timothy Leary was like that too. He was dying of cancer, and he was so upbeat to the last day. You know, now I'm going to get to go on a real adventure. He used to call himself a test pilot of the mind. So 1 minute. Dang, just got here. Oh, I'm so sorry. You've been around for so long. Oh, and I really don't know. I just, oh, you know, I feel connected to him, and so I know things, and I can't be sure that you know they're 100%. But again, you know, where we're at right now as a human race is kind of our first day of school. Our second day of school is going to be when we ascend to the stars, and I mean physically, and we explore and we venture out into the cosmos, and we have open contact with other races and beings, just like Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry gave us a real gift, and I really would love to see that happen for us. So anyway, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for being you, because we couldn't be us without you. And we'll all be talking to you very soon. Good night.